The silent exit, the crystal champagne glass slipped from Rebecca Hart's trembling fingers, shattering against the marble floor of the Plaza Hotel's honeymoon suite. Her wedding dress, an ivory masterpiece with delicate lace sleeves, suddenly felt too tight, crushing her ribs as she stared at the empty doorway. Jason was gone. Her husband of 3 hours had vanished without explanation, leaving only the ghost of his cologne and a half-drunk bottle of champagne on the nightstand. Rebecca pressed her palm against the cool window, her reflection staring back at her. Mascara streaked her cheeks, her carefully pinned-up dome now disheveled from running her hands through it. Below, New York City glittered with indifferent beauty. Thousands of lights twinkling like the lies Jason had whispered during their vows just hours ago. Her engagement ring caught the light, the 3-carat diamond suddenly feeling like a weight rather than a promise. A sister's comfort. The knock on the door made Rebecca jump. Her younger sister, Claire, rushed in, still wearing her pale blue bridesmaid dress, her face etched with concern. Behind her stood Emma, Rebecca's best friend since college, clutching a bottle of wine and looking ready for war. "Where is that coward?" Emma demanded, her dark eyes scanning the suite. "Please tell me he didn't actually leave." Rebecca's laugh came out, strangled halfway between a sob and a scream. "He left, right after the last guest departed. Said he needed to make an important call, and then he just walked out." Claire wrapped her arms around her older sister, feeling Rebecca's body shake with suppressed emotion. "Did he say anything? Give you any hint about what was wrong?" "Nothing made sense," Rebecca whispered, pulling away to pace the room. During the reception, he kept checking his phone. "I thought it was just work stress." Jason's always been ambitious, always chasing the next big deal. But when we got up here, he looked at me like I was a stranger, like marrying me was the biggest mistake of his life. Emma poured 3 glasses of wine, pressing one into Rebecca's hand. "Call him. Demand answers." With shaking hands, Rebecca dialed Jason's number. It rang once before going straight to voicemail. His voice, smooth and professional, filled the silence. "You've reached Jason Porter. Leave a message, and I'll return your call promptly." She hung up without speaking, her throat too tight for words. The unexpected visitor, another knock, interrupted them, this one more hesitant. Claire opened the door to reveal Natalie Kim, one of Jason's colleagues from the investment firm. The petite woman stood in the hallway, her cocktail dress wrinkled, her expression troubled. "Rebecca, I need to talk to you," Natalie said, stepping inside when Claire moved aside. "I overheard something tonight. Something you need to know about Jason." Rebecca set down her wine glass, her knuckles white as she gripped the back of a chair. "Tell me." Natalie took a deep breath, her words tumbling out in a rush. "After the cake cutting, I went outside for air. Jason was there with his old college roommate Todd. They didn't see me, but I heard them talking. Jason was laughing, actually laughing, about how you were the perfect way to show Amanda that he had moved on." The name hit Rebecca like a physical blow. Amanda Chen, Jason's ex-fiancée, the woman he claimed to have gotten over 2 years ago. The woman whose Instagram photos he still occasionally liked, always with some excuse about professional courtesy. "He said marrying you would prove to Amanda that he didn't need her," Natalie continued, her voice soft with sympathy. "That you were beautiful, successful, from the right family. Everything that would make Amanda regret breaking up with him. I'm so sorry, Rebecca. I thought you deserved to know before the gossip started spreading." Emma's wine glass hit the table with a sharp crack. "That absolute piece of trash. He used you." Rebecca felt something cold settle in her chest, replacing the hurt with something harder, sharper. All those months of dating, the romantic gestures, the carefully planned proposal at her favorite restaurant, it had all been theater. She was nothing more than a prop in Jason's revenge plot against his ex. Uncovering the truth, Claire pulled out her phone, her fingers flying across the screen. Amanda posted something an hour ago. She turned the screen to show a photo of Amanda at a club, her arm around a handsome man, her smile radiant. The caption read, "New beginnings with someone who actually knows what he wants." "Jason must have seen this," Claire said. "Maybe that's why he ran." Rebecca sank onto the bed, her wedding dress pooling around her like a white puddle. "He married me to make another woman jealous. He said vows promised forever, and I was just part of a game I didn't even know I was playing. Natalie stepped forward, her voice hesitant. There's something else you should know. About 3 years ago, Jason was involved in a real estate deal that went badly. His firm partnered with a developer, but the project collapsed. Millions were lost. The primary investor was someone Jason has avoided ever since. Emma asked, leaning forward. Dominic Ashford. The name meant nothing to Rebecca, but Natalie's expression suggested it should. The tech billionaire. He owns half the new developments in Manhattan. What does he have to do with Jason? Jason's firm mismanaged the investment, Natalie explained. There were questions about whether corners were cut, permits rushed, safety protocols ignored. The building that was supposed to go up never materialized, and Ashford lost a fortune. He could have destroyed Jason's career, could have sued him into oblivion, but he didn't. He just pulled out of every deal Jason touched after that. Emma's eyes narrowed. So Jason's been dodging this guy for years? More than dodging, Natalie said. Avoiding him completely. Turning down projects, skipping events, anything to stave off Ashford's radar. People at the firm joke about it, how Jason goes pale whenever Ashford's name comes up in meetings. The mysterious observer Rebecca stood, suddenly needing to move, to do something other than sit in this room where her marriage had died before it even began. She stripped off her veil, the delicate fabric catching on her hairpins. I need air. I need to think. I'll come with you, Claire offered. But Rebecca shook her head. No. I need to be alone for a bit. Just give me an hour. She changed into jeans and a sweater, leaving the wedding dress draped over a chair like a ghost. The hotel lobby was quiet at this late hour, just a few guests checking in, and the night staff going about their duties. Rebecca walked out into the cool November air, pulling her coat tighter as she started down Fifth Avenue. The city never truly slept, and tonight she was grateful for that. She walked without direction, her mind replaying every moment of the past year. How had she missed the signs? Were there any signs? Jason had seemed perfect. Attentive, romantic, supportive of her gallery. Had it all been an act? She found herself at Washington Square Park, sitting on a bench near the fountain. The park was mostly empty, just a few late-night wanderers and someone playing guitar under a street lamp. Rebecca closed her eyes, letting the cold air sting her cheeks. Rough night. The voice was deep, with a slight rasp that made Rebecca open her eyes. A man stood a few feet away, hands in the pockets of an expensive charcoal coat. He was tall, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and eyes that seemed to catch the streetlight like polished stone. There was something commanding about his presence, an intensity that made her breath catch. You could say that? Rebecca replied, her voice hoarse from crying. He gestured to the bench. Mind if I sit? I promise I'm not a creep. Just someone who couldn't sleep. She should have said no, should have walked away, but something about him felt safe despite the danger in his eyes. Sure, he sat, leaving a respectful distance between them. For a moment they were quiet, two strangers sharing a bench in the small hours of the morning. I'm Dominic, he said finally. Rebecca's heart skipped. Dominic, it couldn't be. Ashford. His eyebrow raised slightly, a hint of surprise crossing his face. You know me? I know of you. She turned to look at him fully, seeing the sharp intelligence in his gaze, the power in the way he held himself. You're the billionaire my husband has been avoiding for 3 years, husband. His eyes dropped to her left hand, where her engagement ring still glittered. That's fresh. Hours, maybe? 3 hours and 42 minutes ago, Jason Porter became my husband. 3 hours and 17 minutes ago, he walked out on me. The words came out flat, emotionless, because feeling them would break her again. Dominic's jaw tightened, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. Jason Porter married you and then left. Apparently I was convenient. A way to show his ex-girlfriend that he had moved on. I was the perfect choice to make her jealous. Rebecca laughed, the sound bitter. Funny how you can think you know someone and be completely wrong. She watched his hands curl into fists against his knees before deliberately relaxing. I'm sorry that happened to you. You deserve better than being someone's pawn. How do you know what I deserve? You don't even know me. I know enough. His gaze held hers, intense and unwavering. I know you're sitting in a park at 2 in the morning instead of falling apart in that hotel room. I know you're angry instead of broken. And I know Jason Porter is an even bigger fool than I thought. Rebecca felt something shift in her chest, a warmth spreading through the cold numbness. He's afraid of you, you know, Jason. People at his firm say he turns pale when your name comes up. Good. Dominic's voice was soft, but carried an edge that sent a shiver down her spine. He should be. Why? What happened between you two? Dominic stood, offering his hand. That's a conversation for somewhere warmer. There's a diner 3 blocks from here that makes the best pancakes in Manhattan. Let me buy you breakfast, Rebecca Hart. She stared at his outstretched hand, knowing that taking it would mean crossing some invisible line. But Jason had already blown up her life. What did she have left to lose? Rebecca placed her hand in his, feeling the warmth of his palm against hers, and let Dominic Ashford lead her into the night. The diner confession, the diner's neon sign flickered against the pre-dawn darkness, casting pink and blue shadows across Dominic Ashford's face as he held the door open for Rebecca. Inside, the warmth hit her immediately, along with the smell of coffee and bacon. A tired waitress with kind eyes led them to a corner booth. Away from the handful of other customers nursing their own late-night stories, Rebecca slid into the worn leather seat. Suddenly aware of how surreal this moment was. Hours ago, she had been a bride. Now she sat across from a billionaire her husband feared. About to hear truths she suspected would change everything. Dominic ordered coffee for both of them, then met her gaze across the scratched Formica table. 3 years ago, Jason's firm approached me about a development project in Brooklyn. Luxury condos overlooking the water. The numbers looked solid, the location was perfect, and Jason seemed competent enough. I invested $40 million. Rebecca's breath caught at the figure, but she stayed silent, letting him continue. Within 6 months, everything fell apart. Permits that Jason assured me were secured turned out to be provisional. Environmental studies were incomplete. The foundation work was substandard because Jason's firm had hired the cheapest contractor to pad their margins. Dominic's voice remained calm, but his fingers tightened around his coffee cup. When inspectors shut down the project, I started digging. Found out Jason had known about the permit issues from the beginning but pushed forward anyway, hoping to flip the property before anyone noticed. He lied to you, Rebecca said quietly. Lied to everyone. His firm, the other investors, the city. When it all collapsed, I lost my investment. But more importantly, families who had put deposits on those condos lost their savings. Jason walked away with barely a slap on the wrist because his senior partners threw money at the problem and buried it. The waitress returned with pancakes neither of them had ordered. But Dominic must have signaled for them somehow. Rebecca picked up her fork, needing something to do with her hands. I could have destroyed him, Dominic continued. Could have filed lawsuits, used my connections to blacklist him. But I decided to do something else instead. I decided to watch him. See what kind of man he really was. And every move he's made since then has confirmed that Jason Porter is a coward who uses people and runs when consequences appear. Rebecca cut into her pancakes, her appetite gone but her hands needing the motion. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know who you married. Dominic leaned forward, his dark eyes intense. And because I saw you leaving his office building yesterday afternoon, her fork clattered against the plate. You were there? I had a meeting with one of the senior partners. I saw you storm out, saw the tears you were trying to hide, saw the way Jason couldn't even look at you through his office window. Something shifted in Dominic's expression, softening slightly. I've been watching Jason for 3 years, Rebecca. I know his patterns, his fears, his weaknesses, but yesterday was the first time I saw you, and you were magnificent. Heat crept up her neck despite the situation. Magnificent. I was humiliated. The whole office watched me confront my husband on our wedding day. You were fierce, unbroken. You demanded answers instead of accepting his dismissal. Dominic's voice dropped lower. Jason thought you would fade away quietly. He was wrong. Unexpected encounters over the next 2 weeks, Rebecca threw herself into work at her gallery. The Heart Contemporary specialized in emerging artists, and a new exhibition was opening in 10 days. She spent her hours coordinating with artists, arranging pieces, updating the website, anything to keep her mind off the empty apartment she had once shared with Jason. He had moved out while she was at the gallery, taking his clothes and leaving his key on the kitchen counter with no note, but Dominic Ashford seemed to be everywhere. The first time she thought it was coincidence. She had been at a coffee shop in Chelsea, reviewing contracts with a new artist, when she glanced up to see him at the counter. He caught her eye, nodded slightly, and left without approaching. The second time she was having lunch with Claire at a bistro in Soho, when he walked past the window, his phone to his ear, his eyes finding hers for just a moment before he continued down the street. "That's the third time this week," Claire said, following Rebecca's gaze. "Either Manhattan is a lot smaller than we think, or he's keeping tabs on you." "Don't be ridiculous," Rebecca replied, but her heart was beating faster. The fourth encounter was different. Rebecca was at the Whitney Museum studying a particularly striking abstract piece. She felt that now familiar prickle of awareness. She turned to find Dominic standing a few feet away, hands in his pockets, studying the same painting. "Wait, we have to stop meeting like this," she said, trying for lightness despite the tension humming between them. His lips curved slightly. "Do we? Are you following me, Dominic? Would you believe me if I said no?" "Probably not." Stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive with notes of cedar and bergamot. "I'm not following you, Rebecca. But I am aware of where you are. There's a difference." "That's not creepy at all," she said, but without real heat. "Jason's been asking questions about you, trying to find out who you're seeing, what you're doing. He's worried." Rebecca's hands clenched at her sides. "He doesn't get to be worried. He doesn't get to care about my life anymore. I agree." Dominic's gaze held hers. "But he does get to be afraid. And he should be. Because I've decided something." "What?" "That I'm very interested in getting to know you better. And Jason Porter's fear is just a pleasant side effect." Before Rebecca could respond, her phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "Jason just showed up at your gallery. Looks desperate. Want me to call the cops?" Rebecca showed Dominic the screen, watching his expression darken. "Go," he said quietly. "Handle it. But call me if you need anything." Gah. He pressed a business card into her hand, his fingers brushing hers. "My private number? Use it." Jason's desperation. Rebecca arrived at the gallery to find Jason pacing outside, his tie loose, his hair disheveled. He looked like he hadn't slept in days, dark circles shadowing his eyes. When he saw her, relief and panic crossed his face in equal measure. "Rebecca, thank God we need to talk. We have nothing to talk about." She moved past him to unlock the gallery door, but he caught her arm. "Please. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Emma appeared in the doorway, her arms crossed, looking ready to physically remove Jason if necessary. Rebecca held up a hand, stopping her friend. 5 minutes, she agreed. Leading Jason inside, the gallery was quiet, the white walls displaying vibrant canvases that seemed to mock the tension between them. Jason ran his hands through his hair, a gesture she once found endearing, but now just looked pathetic. "I made a mistake," he started. "Walking out on our wedding night, I panicked. The reality of marriage hit me, and I just needed space to think." "Space to think," Rebecca repeated, her voice flat. "You needed space to think after we got married? Not before? Not during our year of dating or 6-month engagement? I know how it sounds, but I do care about you. I want to make this work." Rebecca laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet gallery. "You care about me? Jason, you used me to make your ex-girlfriend jealous. You said vows you never meant. You humiliated me in front of everyone we know. And now you want to make it work?" His face went pale. "Who told you that?" "About Amanda. Does it matter? Multiple people heard you laughing about how convenient I was, how perfect I was for showing Amanda you had moved on." Jason stepped closer, desperation making his voice rise. "It wasn't like that. I was drunk, showing off for the guys. I do love you, Rebecca. I know I hurt you, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling, Take a honeymoon, start fresh. No. The word came out clear and strong. We're done, Jason. I'm filing for an annulment.
Annulment?
His hands grabbed her shoulders, his grip tight enough to hurt. Rebecca, please. You don't understand what you're doing. Emma moved forward, but Rebecca shook her head slightly, holding her ground. Let go of me, Jason. It's him, isn't it? Jason's eyes were wild now, his careful composure cracking completely. Dominic Ashford. I've heard the rumors. People have seen you two together. Are you sleeping with him? Is that why you want out? Rebecca wrenched herself free, anger blazing through her. Don't you dare. Don't you dare try to blame this on me or anyone else. You destroyed our marriage before it even started. Whatever I do now is none of your business. You don't know what he's capable of? Jason hissed. Dominic Ashford destroys people. Rebecca. He's been circling me for years, waiting for a chance to strike. If he's interested in you, it's only because he wants to hurt me. Maybe, Rebecca said coldly. Or maybe he just sees me as an actual person instead of a pawn in someone else's game. Which is more than I can say for you. Jason's face crumpled, years of carefully maintained control disintegrating. I'm losing everything. My career is falling apart. The senior partners are questioning my judgment. Deals are falling through. And now, I'm losing you too. You already lost me, Jason. The moment you walked out that door. No, not. He stared at her for a long moment, then turned and walked out, his shoulders slumped in defeat. Rebecca stood frozen until Emma wrapped her arms around her. And only then did she allow herself to shake. The charity gala 10 days later, Rebecca stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the deep burgundy gown she had chosen for the Children's Hospital charity gala. The dress hugged her curves before flowing to the floor, the color making her skin glow and her auburn hair shine. She had debated skipping the event, knowing Jason would be there with colleagues from his firm, but she refused to hide. Claire appeared behind her, fastening a diamond necklace around her neck. You look stunning. Jason's going to choke on his champagne when he sees you. I don't care what Jason thinks, Rebecca said, but they both knew it was a lie. Some part of her wanted him to see what he had lost, wanted him to hurt the way she had hurt. The gala was held at the Metropolitan Museum, its grand halls filled with New York's elite. Rebecca accepted a glass of champagne from a passing waiter, her eyes scanning the crowd. She spotted Jason almost immediately, standing with a group of men in expensive suits. His laugh forced and too loud. Rebecca Hart. As I live and breathe. She turned to find Thomas Wright, an art collector who frequently attended her gallery showings. He kissed her cheek, his warm smile genuine. Thomas, how are you? Better now that you're here. Walk with me. I want to show you a new Rothko they have on loan. As they moved through the crowd, Rebecca felt eyes following her, whispers trailing in her wake. The abandoned bride. The woman Jason Porter left. She held her head high, refusing to let them see her discomfort. Then she saw him. Dominic Ashford stood near the museum's grand staircase, a glass of scotch in his hand, looking devastating in a perfectly tailored tuxedo. But it was his eyes that made her breath catch. The intensity of his gaze as it locked onto hers across the crowded room. He excused himself from the group he was with, and moved toward her with that predatory grace she was beginning to recognize. Thomas noticed her distraction and followed her gaze. Well, well. Dominic Ashford. I heard he rarely attends these things anymore. Must be quite the draw tonight. Thomas's voice held a knowing tone as he squeezed her hand. I'll leave you to it. Dominic stopped in front of her, his presence commanding despite not touching her. Miss Hart, you look extraordinary, Mr. Ashford. Funny seeing you here, is it? His lips curved into that almost smile that made her stomach flutter. I had a feeling you might attend. Are you admitting to following me now? I prefer to think of it as strategic positioning. He offered his arm. Dance with me. Rebecca glanced toward where Jason stood, saw him watching them, his face pale and drawn. Something reckless sparked in her chest. Why not? The orchestra was playing a waltz, and Dominic led her onto the floor with practiced ease. His hand settled on her waist, warm through the thin fabric of her dress, while his other hand held hers gently but firmly. "You're trying to make a statement," he observed as they moved together. "Maybe I am. Is that a problem?" "Not for me." His voice dropped lower. "But Jason looks like he's about to have a stroke." "Good." Dominic's hand tightened slightly on her waist. "Careful, Rebecca. Revenge is a dangerous game," says the man who's been playing it for 3 years. He laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "Fair point, but I'm very good at dangerous games." "Are you?" Before she could answer, someone tapped Dominic's shoulder. Rebecca looked up to find Jason standing there, his jaw clenched, his eyes burning with barely suppressed rage. "Mind if I cut in?" Jason's voice was tight, controlled, but Rebecca could hear the panic underneath. "Actually, yes," Dominic replied coolly, not releasing Rebecca. "We do mind. I need to talk to my wife," Rebecca corrected. "And no, Jason, whatever you have to say, I don't want to hear it." But Jason grabbed her arm, trying to pull her away from Dominic. "This is between us. You need to stay out of this, Ashford." Everything happened quickly. Dominic's hand shot out, gripping Jason's wrist with enough force to make him wince and release Rebecca. The music faltered, dancers stopping to watch the confrontation. "Touch her again without permission," Dominic said, his voice deadly quiet, "and I'll make the last 3 years look like a gentle warning. Do you understand me?" Jason's face went white. "This is your fault. You've been sabotaging my career, turning people against me, all because of one deal that went bad." "No," Dominic corrected. "I've been watching you self-destruct. Every failed deal, every lost client, that's all you. Jason, you're a mediocre banker who got by on charm and connections, but eventually, people see through that. They see that you're unreliable, dishonest, and cowardly." "You're using her to get to me," Jason spat, his eyes wild. "You don't care about Rebecca. This is just another way to destroy me." Dominic finally released Jason's wrist, stepping back slightly. "You give yourself far too much credit. Yes, I've been watching you fail, and yes, I've enjoyed it. But my interest in Rebecca has nothing to do with you. You're just an unfortunate connection she's in the process of severing." He turned to Rebecca, his expression softening. "Shall we go?" "I think we've given them enough of a show." Rebecca nodded, placing her hand in his. As they walked away, she heard the whispers erupting behind them, saw the stares and pointed fingers. Tomorrow, this would be all over the society pages. But right now, with Dominic's hand warm in hers and Jason's devastated face burned into her memory, she felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Power. The penthouse Dominics. Penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a gleaming tower in Tribeca. Floor 2 ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of Manhattan, the city spread out below like a carpet of stars. Rebecca stood by the glass, her champagne forgotten in her hand, still processing the evening's events. "You didn't have to do that," she said quietly. "Confront Jason like that." Dominic joined her at the window, close enough that she could feel his warmth. "Yes, I did. He put his hands on you. He was desperate." "That's not an excuse." Dominic turned to face her fully. "Rebecca, I need you to understand something. My interest in you started because of Jason, that's true. I saw you that day at his office, watched you demand answers from a man who didn't deserve your courage, and I was intrigued. But every moment since then, every conversation, every accidental meeting that's been about you, not him." Her heart hammered against her ribs. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that Jason Porter is a footnote in a much larger story. I'm saying that watching you rebuild yourself these past weeks has been captivating. I'm saying that I want to know everything about you, and not because it hurts your ex-husband, but because you're the most fascinating woman I've met in years." Rebecca set down her glass, her hands shaking slightly. "Dominic, I just got out of a marriage that was based on lies. I don't know if I can trust my judgment anymore." He stepped closer, raising his hand to gently cup her cheek. "Then don't trust your judgment. Trust your instincts." "What do they tell you right now?" She looked up at him, at the intensity in his dark eyes, the strength in his features, the barely leashed desire she could see him holding back. Her instincts told her this was dangerous. That falling for Dominic Ashford would be like diving into deep water without knowing if she could swim. But they also told her that she had never felt more alive than she did in this moment. "They tell me," she whispered, "that I should kiss you, then listen to them." His lips met hers. Gentle at first, testing, asking permission. Rebecca responded by wrapping her arms around his neck, pressing closer, deepening the kiss. All the pain and anger and confusion of the past weeks poured into that moment, transformed into heat and need and something she was afraid to name. Dominic's hands slid to her waist, pulling her against him as the kiss intensified. He tasted like scotch and promises, his touch both demanding and reverent. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Rebecca knew there was no going back from this. "Stay," Dominic said, his voice rough. "Stay with me tonight." She should say no. Should take time to process everything, to make sure this was what she wanted, and not just a reaction to Jason's betrayal. But as she looked into Dominic's eyes and saw genuine desire mixed with something deeper, something that looked like the beginning of real emotion, she made her choice. "Yes," Rebecca said simply. "I'll stay." Morning revelation sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Dominic's penthouse, painting gold across the tangled sheets where Rebecca lay. She woke slowly, awareness returning in pieces, the unfamiliar softness of expensive linens, the warmth of another body beside her, the pleasant ache in muscles that reminded her of the night before. Her eyes opened to find Dominic already awake, propped on one elbow, watching her with an expression that made her breath catch. "How long have you been staring at me?" she asked, her voice husky with sleep. "Not long enough." His finger traced the curve of her shoulder, sending shivers across her skin. "Coffee? Or should I order breakfast?" Rebecca stretched, the sheet slipping down, and noticed how his eyes darkened at the sight. "Both? Probably. But first, I need to ask you something." His hand stilled. "All right. Last night was incredible. But I need to know this is real. That I'm not just another move in whatever game you're playing with Jason." Dominic sat up, his expression serious. "Rebecca, look at me." When she met his gaze, he continued. "I've built an empire by being strategic, by thinking several moves ahead. Yes, initially I noticed you because of Jason, but what happened last night had nothing to do with him. When I touch you, when I kiss you, Jason Porter is the furthest thing from my mind. But he's still there, isn't he? In the background, part of why this started. In the background, yes. Part of the history, yes. But not the reason." He cupped her face gently. "I want to know what makes you laugh, what you dream about, why you chose art over any other career. I want to learn every detail that makes you who you are. That has nothing to do with your ex-husband and everything to do with the woman lying in my bed right now." Rebecca felt the last of her resistance crumble. She kissed him, slow and deep, trying to convey without words that she believed him. She wanted this too. Her phone buzzed from the nightstand, shattering the moment. Rebecca groaned, reaching for it, then froze when she saw the screen. 17 missed calls from Jason, 12 from Claire. 23 text messages. "What is it?" Dominic asked, reading her expression. She opened the messages, her stomach sinking as she scrolled through them. Most were from Claire. "Where are you? Are you okay? Please tell me you're safe." But the ones from Jason made her blood run cold. "I know where you are. This is a mistake, Rebecca. He'll destroy you too. Come home. We can still fix this. Don't let him use you. I'm outside the gallery. We need to talk, now." The last message was from 10 minutes ago. It wasn't from Jason. It was from Emma. "Rebecca, Jason's here and he's losing it. He's threatening to call the cops, saying Dominic kidnapped you. Please call me back." Rebecca showed Dominic the messages, watching his jaw tighten. "Get dressed," he said, already moving toward his closet. "My driver will take you to the gallery. I'll follow separately. Jason needs to understand some boundaries. Dominic, don't do anything rash. He's desperate, not thinking clearly." He turned, his eyes blazing with controlled anger. "I'm not going to hurt him, Rebecca. But I am going to make something very clear. You're not his anymore. You never really were. And if he keeps harassing you, there will be consequences." Confrontation at the gallery 20 minutes later, Rebecca stepped out of Dominic's town car in front of her gallery. Jason was pacing on the sidewalk, his suit wrinkled, his eyes wild. When he saw her, relief and fury crossed his face in equal measure. "Thank God," he breathed, rushing toward her. "Rebecca, are you okay? Did he hurt you?" She held up a hand, stopping him from getting closer. "I'm fine, Jason, and no, Dominic didn't hurt me. I was with him because I wanted to be. You don't know what you're saying? He's manipulating you. Can't you see that? This is what he does. He finds weaknesses and exploits them." "The only person who exploited me was you," Rebecca said coldly. "Now leave before I call the actual police and file a restraining order." "What? I'm trying to protect you." Jason's voice rose, attracting attention from passersby. "Do you have any idea what he's capable of? I've seen him destroy lives, Rebecca. Entire careers gone because someone crossed him. He's using you to hurt me, and when he's done, he'll throw you away like garbage. That's rich, coming from the man who used me to make his ex jealous." Rebecca's hands clenched at her sides. "You don't get to pretend you care now? Jason, you lost that right when you walked out on our wedding night." A sleek black car pulled up behind Dominic's town car, and Rebecca felt him before she saw him. That electric awareness that seemed to accompany his presence. Dominic stepped out, buttoning his suit jacket as he approached with measured, deliberate steps. "Porter," he said, his voice carrying quiet authority, "I believe the lady asked you to leave." Jason spun to face him, his face flushing. "This is between me and my wife." Ex-wife, both Rebecca and Dominic corrected simultaneously. "The annulment papers will be filed today," Rebecca continued. "Our marriage lasted 3 hours, Jason. It's over. Because of him." Jason pointed at Dominic, his hand shaking. "He's been sabotaging me for years, and now he's using you to finish the job. Can't you see that?" Dominic stepped closer, positioning himself slightly in front of Rebecca. "Let me be very clear about something. Your career problems are your own doing. The clients you've lost, the deals that fell through, that's because you're incompetent and dishonest. I haven't had to sabotage you because you've done an excellent job of destroying yourself." "You're a liar," Jason spat. "I know you've been calling my clients spreading rumors." "Have I?" Dominic's voice was dangerously soft. "Prove it. Show me one phone record, one email, one shred of evidence that I've interfered with your work." "You can't because I haven't needed to. Your reputation speaks for itself." Emma emerged from the gallery, her phone in hand. "I've got 911 ready to dial if this escalates." Jason looked between them all, his expression desperate. "Rebecca, please. I made mistakes. I know that. But we can work through this. Don't throw away our relationship because some billionaire showed you attention." "Our relationship?" Rebecca's laugh was bitter. "We never had a real relationship, Jason. I was a prop in your revenge fantasy. Every moment was fake." "That's not true. I did care about you. I do care about you, no?" Rebecca stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. "You cared about winning? About showing Amanda that you had moved on? I was convenient, remember? Your words, not mine. Now leave my gallery, leave my life, and don't contact me again." Jason's face crumpled, the fight draining out of him. "You'll regret this. Both of you. When he's done with you, Rebecca, don't come crying to me." He stumbled to his car, his shoulders slumped. As he drove away, Rebecca felt something release in her chest. A weight she hadn't realized she was carrying. Dominic turned to her, his expression softening. "Are you all right?" "I think so." She looked up at him, aware of Emma watching them with interest. "Thank you for being here," always he said simply, and the promise in that single word made her heart skip. The truth comes out later that afternoon. Rebecca sat in Dominic's office, sleek space of glass and steel high above the city. He had asked her to meet him here, saying there was something she needed to know. The serious tone in his voice had worried her, but she trusted him enough to come. Dominic poured 2 glasses of water, handing her one before sitting across from her. "I owe you the complete truth about my history with Jason, about why I've been watching him for 3 years." Rebecca set down her glass, bracing herself. "I'm listening. The development deal I told you about, the one in Brooklyn, it was worse than I initially explained. Jason didn't just cut corners on permits and inspections, he deliberately falsified safety reports. The foundation work was so substandard that if the building had gone up, it could have collapsed within years. Families with children would have been living in a death trap. Her stomach turned. Why would he do that? Greed. He and his partner were siphoning money from the construction budget, pocketing hundreds of thousands while using inferior materials. When I discovered what was happening, I could have gone public, could have filed criminal charges. But his law firm paid off the right people, buried the evidence. And Jason walked away with barely a slap on the wrist. So you've been waiting for a chance to destroy him, Rebecca said slowly. I've been waiting for him to destroy himself, Dominic corrected. Because men, like Jason always do, they think they're smarter than everyone else, that they can keep cutting corners and lying and nothing will catch up to them. I just made sure I was there to watch when it all fell apart. He leaned forward, his eyes intense. But here's the part you need to understand. When I saw you at his office that day, something changed. I became interested in you, not as a way to hurt Jason, but as yourself. Rebecca Hart, gallery owner, art lover, fierce woman who refused to be broken. And the more time I spent thinking about you, arranging to see you, the less I cared about Jason Porter at all. Rebecca's heart pounded. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm done playing games with your ex-husband. He's not worth my time or energy. But you are. Dominic stood, moving to sit beside her on the couch. I want to see where this goes between us. No schemes, no revenge plots. Just you and me, figuring out if this connection we have is real, and if Jason keeps interfering. Then I'll handle it, but not because I care about him. Because I care about you, and I won't let anyone hurt you again. Rebecca looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity there, the vulnerability he was showing her. This powerful man who commanded boardrooms and built empires was opening himself up to her, offering something real. I want that too, she whispered. But Dominic, I need time. My marriage just ended, and this thing between us, it's intense. I need to make sure I'm making decisions for the right reasons. He cupped her face gently. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Finding her strength over the next month, Rebecca threw herself into rebuilding her life on her own terms. The annulment papers were filed, citing fraud and misrepresentation. Jason didn't contest them. Perhaps because his law firm was now investigating his past deals after an anonymous tip led them to the Brooklyn development disaster. Dominic swore it wasn't him, and Rebecca believed him. Though she suspected he knew who had finally come forward, her gallery's new exhibition was a massive success. Drawing critics and collectors from across the city, Rebecca poured her pain and transformation into curating a show about resilience, about finding beauty in broken things. The opening night was packed, and she moved through the crowd with confidence. No longer the abandoned bride, but a woman who had reclaimed her narrative. Nick attended. Standing quietly in the background, his pride in her accomplishments evident. He didn't monopolize her time or play the possessive boyfriend. He simply existed in her orbit, steady and supportive, letting her shine. When the crowd finally thinned, Rebecca found him studying a particular piece. A shattered mirror mosaic that reflected light in unexpected ways. What do you see? She asked, coming to stand beside him. Transformation, he said. Something broken being reimagined into something more beautiful than it was before. Is that what you see when you look at me? He turned to face her fully. I see a woman who was hurt but refused to stay down, who took her pain and turned it into power, who's building something extraordinary from the pieces of what could have destroyed her. His hand found hers. I see someone worth waiting for. Becca's eyes stung with unexpected tears. I'm ready, Dominic. I've done the work, faced my pain, rebuilt myself, and I know what I want now. What's that? You. Not because you saved me from Jason, or because you made me feel powerful at a vulnerable time, but because you see me, really see me, in a way no one else ever has. Because when I'm with you, I'm not trying to be anything other than exactly who I am. Dominic's smile was slow and devastating. Rebecca Hart, would you have dinner with me tomorrow night? An actual date? No ex-husbands or revenge plots involved? Yes, she laughed, feeling lighter than she had in months. I'd like that very much. A new beginning, the restaurant Dominic chose was intimate and elegant. Far from the society hotspots where they might be seen and gossiped about, they talked for hours about everything and nothing. Rebecca learned about his childhood, raised by a single mother who cleaned offices to put him through school. How he built his first company from nothing, taking risks that terrified him but paid off. His love for architecture, it's not just as investments, but as art forms that shaped how people lived. She told him about her own journey, about studying art history while everyone expected her to join her family's law firm, about opening the gallery with money she had saved for years, taking a leap of faith that it would work, about the loneliness she had felt before Jason, thinking she needed someone to be complete, only to realize after he left that she had been complete all along. Jason leaving was the best thing that could have happened to me, she admitted over dessert. It hurt like hell, but it woke me up. Made me realize I had been sleepwalking through my own life, trying to fit someone else's idea of who I should be. "And who are you?" Dominic asked. Rebecca smiled. "I'm still figuring that out, but I like who I'm becoming." As they left the restaurant, Dominic's hand warm in hers, Rebecca felt something settle in her chest. Peace, maybe. Or just the quiet certainty that this, whatever it was between them, was real and worth exploring. They walked through the city. The November air crisp and clear, talking about plans for the future. Dominic wanted to start a foundation supporting young artists. Rebecca dreamed of expanding her gallery, maybe opening a second location. Their visions aligned in unexpected ways. And by the time they reached her apartment building, they had sketched out the beginnings of a partnership that went beyond romance. "Come up?" Rebecca asked, her keys in her hand, her heart in her throat despite knowing his answer. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." In her apartment, surrounded by art and books and the life she had built for herself, Rebecca kissed Dominic with all the passion and certainty she felt. This wasn't about revenge or rebounds or proving anything to anyone. This was about two people who had found each other in the messiest way possible and chosen to build something real from the chaos.